Detail on this. Let's speak to Philip Nitschke, a doctor who administered the first recorded voluntary lethal injection in Australia in 1996. Dr. Nitschke, good to speak to you today on TRT.
Hello.
Well, thank you for joining us. So you obviously have some experience in this field, having delivered that first lethal injection. How significant is this change of law in Canada, and why was the law in Australia repealed in 1997?
Yes, so look, it's very significant, the development in Canada. It's been some years in happening, but it's finally taken place, first with pressure from their Supreme Court and finally the Canadian Parliament and the Senate agreeing to this piece of legislation which passed last night. Look, it's very significant law, and of course it's the whole nation of Canada. In Australia, we had a law briefly 20 years ago, that was 1996, where I could give a lethal injection to my terminally ill patients, and that only lasted 8 months. It was the world's first law, but the federal government of Australia overturned it, really under pressure from religious groups within the society, Australian society, who didn't want such change to take place.
And of course, the worry in these sort of situations is that Canada could become a place for tourism, suicide tourism, as some worry that places like Switzerland, Dignitas, have become.
Yes, I mean, the way they've got around that is by the residential requirements, which make it impossible for people to come from other countries. And I mean, most countries have done that. I mean, I'm in Holland, in Amsterdam now, and you can't come into Holland, even though Dutch people, of course, have got access to such laws, very, very progressive legislation. Switzerland really is the only country which allows foreigners to take advantage of their legislative change.
And why do you think this is happening now and in so many different places, Doctor? Do you think we're coming to a point where we're becoming more progressive in terms of looking after those who are very sick and unwell?
Yes, I think it's several factors coming together. We've got an ageing population in Western nations. Baby boomers born after the war are demanding change. We've got modern medicine changing to keeping people alive almost indefinitely under sometimes abysmal situations where the quality of their life is deteriorated. And as I said, with a growing consumer group who are demanding a say in the way they die, we're seeing finally pressure put on to allow a person to be able to have this option should they satisfy strict conditions. But the conditions are pretty strict. I mean, you have to be dying, and then it will become legal to get help. I mean, the way the law used to stand in Canada was that if anyone helped you, no matter for what circumstance, no matter how sick you were, they could be spending 10 years in prison. Now that has to change, and it has.
Mm-hmm. And how do you answer the concerns of religious groups, obviously, who, as you say, oppose this law in Australia and will obviously be not very happy with the changes to the law in Canada?
Yes, they've been working very hard in Canada to prevent this piece of legislation passing, the same groups. Look, many conservative religious groups believe that killing is a crime, any killing is a crime, and that doesn't matter what the situation might be. Now, if that's your belief, I guess there's no pressure for you to make use of this new Canadian law. What I would hope they would accept, and I guess they're going to have to in places like Canada, is that other people don't necessarily agree with that. And what the law does is allows those who do want this choice to be able to make use of it. It doesn't compel others who don't want to use it, such as those with strong religious beliefs, to take this path.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Philip Nitschke, we have to leave it there, unfortunately, but thank you very much for joining us on TRT World. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.